Keanu Reeves. Ask me if you want almost anything. Hi Reddit. Keanu Reeves here. You probably know me from way back in the past. River's Edge, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Point Break, Speed, The Devil's Advocate, The Matrix Trilogy, A Scanner Darkly, My Own Private Idaho, and others, plus my latest film, Man of Take-I. I look forward to speaking about them all, and others. IAmA. Pre-proof tweet, since I don't use social media, I have to go now, but it was lovely to spend some time with all of you on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you. And for those of you who would like to hear it, for you, whoa. Do you keep any props or stuff like that from your movies? Like the jacket and sunglasses from The Matrix, or the surfboard from Point Break? I have kept a couple of things. I don't have the surfboard, but I think I have a coat from the first Matrix. I have the sword from Hamlet. I kept a lot of working scripts. I have the jersey from The Replacements. I've got Constantine's lighter and watch. I have Bill and Ted's shorts. Ted's shorts. I used to have the leather jacket from My Own Private Idaho, but I gave that to a friend. And I think that's it. What's a fun fact that most people probably don't know about you? For a long time in Los Angeles, when I first moved there, when I was 20 years old, it was such a new world, and so I saw some guys at a gas station once who had hockey equipment in their car, and I asked them what they were doing, and they said they were playing street hockey, so I asked them if I could play. So I became involved in a street hockey game that took place every weekend for over 10 years, every weekend, red versus black. We would take holidays off and sometimes summers, but the game was going on for over 10 years. That was cool to be a part of. It was a cool thing to have happen. Made some friends. Hey, Keanu. What was your reaction when you first saw your face on a meme? My first experience with that was sad Keanu, and I thought it was funny. What is your favorite movie? Here's some. Taxi Driver, Apocalypse Now, A Clockwork Orange, Strasek. Burden of Fame question. If a fan sees you on the street, does a quick hi Keanu bother you? What about a stop and chat? Would you prefer people see you and then not bother you at all? It's always nice to say hi to folks. You know, it really depends on the moment. Sometimes you have the time to hang out, and other times you don't. But yeah, it's always nice to say hi. What are your favorite books? Where do I begin? Here are some. As a kid, we can start with The Count of Monte Cristo. We could start with The Lord of the Rings. Then we could get into Finding as a Teenager, getting into Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Idiot, Notes from Underground, The Brothers Karamazov. We could get into Jim Thompson. We could go into some William Gibson. Then we could do In Search of Lost Time by Proust. And then just getting into the works of Philip K. Dick, and recently I was reading Don DeLillo, Cosmopolis. I like Updike's The Rabbit series. You've done the Matrix movies. You've done Man of Take-I. With that being said, what is your favorite martial art? You know, I love all martial arts. I don't practice any particular form or style, but yeah, I don't have a favorite. Do you ever just look up at the stars? Absolutely. You've played 8 characters named variants of John. Johnny Utah, John Constantine, Johnny Mnemonic, Jonathan Harker, Don John, John Proctor, John Wall, and now John Wick. What's with all the Johns? Coincidence or something more? You know, I was thinking that just the other day, as I was going to set for John Wick, I was actually counting them as well. I think there's something, for some reason, the name John is attractive to storytellers to hang their characters on. Hi Keanu, thanks for doing this. Out of all the movies you have been in, what has been your favorite movie to film, and why? Also, did you get to eat any of those meatball subs from Point Break, and how were they? Or did Gary Busey eat them all? That is a very difficult question to answer. I've been lucky enough to have many great experiences. I would say in the 80s, River's Edge. I think working on My Own Private Idaho, working on Little Buddha, The Devil's Advocate, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Johnny Mnemonic, The Matrix Trilogy, Constantine, A Scanner Darkly, Dracula, recently Henry's Crime, Generation Let's see, and there's more. I did a film, my first feature in Los Angeles called The Night Before. It was my first lead in LA in the 80s, and it was a great experience to start the career off. I'll finish with that. Gary Busey got the sandwiches. I had to go run and chase the bad guy. Of all the characters you have portrayed in your movies, which one did you feel was the most like the real you? When I think of a role, I start with my own life experience and who I am. And I get to meet this character. And I think we come to a third place, which is me and the character, and transforming into this third entity to tell the story. So all of these characters have some DNA of mine. I share it with the character. What's your favorite kung fu movie? AUGHHH, that's a tough question. Today I will start with Enter the Dragon as the source. Fist of Legend. Take I Master. Do people ever come up to you when you're, say, in an elevator and quote any of your more renowned lines from The Matrix, Point Break, or Bill and Ted? If so, what's your reaction generally like? Do you ever mess about with your fans and tell them you're actually an FBI agent with a straight face? I remember going to an LA Avengers arena football game, and then all of a sudden, you appeared on the screen and people lost their shit and started cheering because you were there. Is it safe to say you're a fan of arena football? On the street, yes. Sometimes people call out lines, which is usually pretty fun. And yeah, my friend actually invited me to that arena football game. It was a good night. Hey Keanu, I have heard that you lived a simple life, even though that you have earned a lot of money from your awesome movies. Why is it that you have chosen the path of life like that when you could have been in Mason and expensive cars? Second question, do you still have contact with some of the people you have made movie with? You know, I've been very fortunate in my life, which I'm grateful for, and I guess it's just to my tastes to keep life as simple as I can. Thank you for some of the greatest action movies of all time. Like your life, your movies span many centuries. Which film left the biggest impression on you? Is there any chance you and Sandra Bullock could get together for a proper Speed sequel, or at least another action movie? First of all, thank you. I'm glad you like some of the films I've been in. Before The Matrix, Point Break was really my first big break into action movies. And then with Speed, I was given the opportunity to try. I worked with a wonderful stunt coordinator called Gary Hines who put me under the bus and let me dangle down elevator shafts, and I think that those two films really helped prepare me for what I was getting into in terms of The Matrix. Definitely when I was going into The Matrix and meeting the Wachowskis, I knew that we were going in to do something that was special. There was 4 months of training before filming, and the ambition of the project was really exciting to be a part of, and then to actually be on the set and realizing the vision of the directors was one of the special moments of my life. That sounds good. I would love to be able to do that. I don't think it would be on a Speed project, but you know, you never know in the future if there's something we could do. Point Break is one of my favorite movies and I've seen it countless times. Got any interesting behind the scenes stories? Thanks for the IAmA. Love your work. Point Break. Let's see. Interesting stories. You know, it was an exciting film to be a part of. Catherine Bigelow, the director, really wanted to push the boundaries of what actors could do, and with the camera, trying to put the audience and inspire the audience of viewers with the environments. So the surfing, the skydiving, in a way, that even the excitement of a bank robbery. And I think all of the actors and the crew felt that. The fight scenes. So there was a real energy from her that I think came through the picture. And working with the wonderful Patrick Swayze, he really spearheaded that as well, in that he was jumping out of airplanes while he was filming. The other actors were jumping out of airplanes. I was getting to go surfing. Everyone was getting into it. No one robbed any banks. The party scene had some partying going on. And I remember actually I was in LA and Catherine was casting for the female lead, and I remember I saw this woman come in driving this old beat up Cadillac, and I was to meet actresses that day, and I saw this woman, and I said that's the actress, and it turned out to be Lori Petty, and I was right, and she's amazing. While you lived in Toronto, what was favorite place to go or hang around? Thanks for doing the IAmA. There was a really great hamburger place called Licks. I really used to love hanging out by the grade school I used to go to. I played a lot of street hockey and basketball there. We had wonderful parks. Ramsden Park. We had chestnut fights running around Ramsden Park. The Bloor Street Cinema. I would go see movies there. The University Cinema. You totally still have the phone booth time machine from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in your living room, don't you? I wish. That was a rickety phone booth they had. It's lost in time. Do like to air guitar in real life? One of my friends asked this, and we've been debating for a while. You know, I'm not an air guitar aficionado. But once in a while, the air guitar comes out. Especially when you first hear, especially for me, that chord or that moment in the song, when the electric guitar cuts in, or blazes out. Once in a while you just got to strum all those strings in the air. How was it working with Dennis Hopper? I first met Dennis Hopper on River's Edge, and Blue Velvet had not come out yet, but he was really open and congenial, and you know, it was cool to sit and have lunch with the guy. But he was talking about his work. Frederick Elms was shooting The River's Edge, and he had shot Blue Velvet, and Dennis Hopper was sharing the story of the guy he had just finished playing, just off the hook in this film, and I had been really affected by Errors Ahead by David Lynch, and he was just really an open, cool, hanging out guy. To me, he is someone I grew up watching and was inspired by in Apocalypse Now and Easy Rider, and then when I got to work with him on Speed, there was a part of me that was like I'm doing a fight scene with Dennis Hopper, and I said to myself, how extraordinary. He was just so open, had a wonderful sense of humor and outlook on life that he shared, so it was really cool to have been in his life. Hi Keanu. I'd like to start off by saying that I loved Constantine. It also introduced me to A Perfect Circle, which has since been one of my favorite bands. Which leads me to the question, what kind of music do you listen to, and which song is stuck in your head right now, if any at all? Thanks for reading. The music I'm listening to right now? Let's see, I just got the new 9 Inch Nails recording. I really like this other band Mets, just got their first album which was great. And I've been listening to a song that I really like from LCD Sound System, and the song is Someone Great. Given your documented affinity for sandwiches, you should check out Aladoro in Soho and get a Pinocchio on Semolina. What's your favorite sandwich in New York City? That sounds yummy. You know, I had my first pastrami on rye when I came to New York. That's where I was introduced to pastrami on rye with mustard and Russian, with a Coca-Cola on crushed ice, and the kosher pickle. What's your favorite hobby? I don't really have a hobby. Is reading a hobby? Hey Keanu, thanks for doing this IAmA. Feel free to ignore this question as it's personal, but would you mind sharing your fondest memory of River Phoenix? My Own Private Idaho still remains one of my favorite films. The chemistry between you two was incredible. Also, I know you played hockey earlier in life, but could no longer play due to an injury. Do you still follow hockey at any level? If so, who's your team? He was a remarkable human person and actor. We got along very well, and I miss him. I think of him often. Yes. Hockey. Injury. My knees are a little beat up, and for a girlie that's tough. Favorite team? I don't really have one. Just wanted to say you were the bomb in Sweet November. I'm a man, and I cry every time I watch that movie, which is probably too often. Yeah, Charlize Theron is lovely in that film. Heartbreaking. Dying of excitement. You're an absolute idol to me. My question or questions is, how was it filming Bill and Ted? Did it excite you, or was it a bit tedious? Also, how does it compare to other films you've been in? It's my personal favorite. Thanks for taking the time to do this IAmA. Working on Bill and Ted was certainly an excellent adventure. I love those characters. I love the spirit of the film. I like the eternal goodness of these characters. I always thought of them as beautiful fools. They bring a wonder and naivete to the harsh realities of the world. I found them fun to play, and also working with Alex Winter was a great experience. We shared the same view of these characters in the film, and we had a lot of laughs making those movies. And Alex and I are friends. We're all familiar with your work on screen, but do you make time for the stage at all? Are there any specific roles, Shakespeare or otherwise, that you yearn to play? Yeah, I mean I haven't been on stage since 1997 I think. I think about it often. Actually, I would love to work with Richard Maxwell from the New York City Players, and I would love the chance to play Macbeth. In an industry where so many people lose themselves, how do you keep your soul and stay true to self? You are so generous, kind and such a beautiful spirit. How do you stay grounded? Signed, I've been waiting for the past 20 some years. Close bracket. Well, thank you for saying that. And it's easy to stay grounded. The ground is very close. And we walk on it every day. Hi Keanu, loved your most recent film. My question is, what inspired you to direct a film? You know, I started to think about directing I guess around 2008. I think it was just through my life experiences, and I've always as an actor thought about the role in the story, and I just found myself starting to think about telling a story. And as I developed the screenplay with Tiger for the 5 years that we did, I originally was not going to direct, but as we kept working on the story, it kind of filled my vision and my heart, and it became the story that I wanted to tell. And so I directed it. Greetings Mr. Reeves. Do you still planning to do the Cowboy Bebop movie, or Bill and Ted 3? That would be excellent edit. Again, thanks for answering. The summer is, see you, Space Cowboy. Cowboy Bebop does not look like it is going to happen with me in it. The script that was written was great and amazing, but it would cost like $500 million to make it, and while I wished and hoped I would have done that project, we are working on trying to get Bill and Ted 3. There's a script and we are trying to put it together. If you could tell your past self one thing, what would it be? It's a tough question. Today I will choose, at that intersection of Hollywood and Gower, the car's not going to stop for the yellow light, so don't go through there. Also, when you have the time, you might want to check out the Thank You Keanu project that Reddit started a few years back. It's 627 messages from people thanking you for the difference you made in their lives. When preparing for Man of Take-I, which style did Yaos look into for the movie? On a side, if you have the time inclination, I'd be interested to hear your opinions on Take-I, either as a whole as one of the internal martial arts, or as the fragmented disagreeing sects it is made of. For Man of Take-I, the protagonist Tiger, we decided to not use a particular form of Take-I, so we didn't use Yang or Chen style. We used elements from all of those different schools and forms of Take-I, and we called it Linkan Take-I, because we wanted the idea of this character wanting to create his own style, and not to make it so specific to one style to keep it open. Whenever I see IAMAs for celebrities, I never end up having any questions. I just end up wanting to thank them for whatever, and then decide it will get buried, so I leave. For you, I'll give it a whirl. Thank you so much for giving us so many awesome movies over the years. The Matrix trilogy pretty much defined my entire movie fandom for most of high school, and a few years beyond. Whenever you're in a movie, I know I can just sit and enjoy myself for a couple hours. You've been a real gem in Hollywood, and I hope you keep at it for a long time. What's your favorite kind of beer? I will have to say a Pilsner or a Guinness. Hi Keanu, big fan. Just one question. What's your favorite TV show? Thanks. You know, I don't have a favorite TV show, but I do know that I love watching the Olympics. Whenever the Olympics are on, I just love watching them. The moments that you get these incredible athletes dedicating so much of their lives to the moments that happen in the Olympics, and it is great to be able to witness that. Who is a director you'd like to work with in the future? Any genres you'd be really interested in doing? Today I will choose Martin Scorsese, Steve McQueen, David Fincher. I'd love to work with Rebecca Miller again. I'd love to do a western, and also a musical. Are you immortal? No, but energy cannot be created or destroyed, they say. Mr. Reeves, I understand we share a common interest, motorcycles. I also understand that you have created your own. How did this come about, and how is it coming along? From all of your interviews, you seem like a really down-to-earth guy. I feel kind of lame for saying this, but I'm a huge fan, and I thank you for your work. Devil's Advocate is one of my favorites out of the many you have done. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Devil's Advocate is one of my favorites as well. The motorcycle company is called Dutch Motorcycles, and I went into partnership with a Los Angeles builder named Gard Harlinger, and we have built a prototype which you can see on the company website, and we are very close to finishing the production model. I just wanted to tell you that Constantine is my all-time favorite movie and I loved your interpretation. Thank you for that. I mean, I know it's not literal to the source material, but I was hoping, and I hope that with the adaptation of the material that I was hoping to keep, and was really attracted to the character. He's one of those optimist cynics. He is world weary, but at his core he wishes it was not so, and the burden of knowing too much. So I hope that at its core, that we came across to the people who love the original. Dear Keanu, I'm a great fan of the Matrix trilogy. I was wondering if your life has changed in a philosophical way since you acted in these movies? For instance, were you aware of these brains innovative theories before you acted in the movies? And do you feel the Matrix theory has affected your general view on life in a good or bad way? Kind regards from one of your fans. PS You are very attractive. See, I believe there are some black and white films where they have Frankenstein brains in a vat. Maybe the first brain I saw was in Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. Certainly the Matrix trilogy. I shared so much of the thoughts and perspectives of the story from the writers and directors, and I really loved the moment when the character that I played, when he comes up to the moment where he asks the head of the machines, the Deus Ex Machina, asks him, Neo, what does he want? And my character says peace, and I thought that was wonderful and really something that I agree with. That for all sentient beings this idea of peace. Don't forget to like this video and follow this channel to hear more Editception.